Competitive intelligence itself sounds like a daunting subject, but in reality, you are just supporting sales with insights and good information. A lot of people are reluctant to change. So you have to approach CI with respect and with respect of your colleagues as well. One thing that you have to do is over-communicate. Communicate with stakeholders, communicate with your team, making sure that you're doing this because you're there to assist.
You are listening to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, the product marketing community that gives back. In this episode, Dejan Gajsek, CEO and co-founder of Grow and Scale, shares his experience on building an effective competitive intelligence program. Let's dive into it right now. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today, Dejan.
Thanks for inviting me, Louise. I'm happy to be here and I'm excited about this podcast.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then from content marketing now to competitive intelligence. How did you make the transition and what do you see these two have in common?
Right. I've been in tech industry since 2014, so almost 10 years. I've been involved with very early stage startups, and with early stage startups, I was usually the one-person marketing department. We didn't have a lot of budget, and I need to get results. So the one channel where you don't have to spend as much was content. So I got pretty good at producing content and getting conversions this way. And with content strategy, you have to do deep research. You have to figure out who's your ICP. The content always needs to be catered towards conversions. And it was a really great way to get results this way. And then after a few years in 2019, I founded a Grow and Scale agency where we also started with content strategy. But then one of our clients from Fortune 500 company wanted to take a look at this enablement piece. And we soon figure out, hey, you just have to go 3 levels deeper. You have to convert all those big data points into insights. And the big difference is instead of producing content just for public consumption, you're basically feeding your internal teams. We really got really great results. That client is still working with us 3 years later. And the best thing for us was also you just see results way faster than with content.
I see. That's great. I've heard some people, they use the terms competitive intelligence and competitive analysis interchangeably. So in your opinion, are they the same thing or what differences would you like to point out?
I don't rely that much on definitions. To me, competitive analysis seems like a one-off thing. That's just you check what's out there and you get the data and that's it. But when I talk about competitive intelligence, it's the research part, it's gathering the data, turning into insights, it's the implementation part, it's monitoring, it's checking out metrics. And just this continuous improvement of using intelligence for sales, for product, and for marketing. So I would say that competitive analysis is a subset of competitive intelligence program, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Thank you. From your experience, what do you think is the role of product marketing in competitive intelligence? And then should product marketer be responsible for competitive intelligence or not?
That's a great question. Usually when we do work with companies, competitive intelligence does fall under product. When we talk with clients, we usually talk with VP of product marketing or senior PMMs, just because competitive intelligence doesn't reflect the sales, but also product roadmap, marketing, customer success. And product marketing professionals are very well versed in research. So they are already doing the interviews, they're turning data into insights, influencing roadmap. So usually competitive intelligence is done from product marketing standpoint, but most often when they start getting results, there's this conversion from product marketer to CI professional full-time. And I think if you want to do CI at your company, you need a dedicated person or two. And as soon as you get results, that usually just blows up into a whole CI department.
I see. I see. You had a lot of experience in startup companies. You said one of the main constraints, the limited budget. So when it comes to setting up minimum viable competitive intelligence program with limited budget, where do you suggest people to get started, and how should they go about it?
Yeah, competitive intelligence itself sounds like a daunting subject, but in reality, you are just supporting sales with insights and good information. And while they are amazing tools out there that you can use, Clue, Crayon, HighSpot, all those software companies, you don't have to rely on them when you're starting off. So you can just use Google Docs, some social listening tools, and then create assets in Google Slides, in Notion, and things like that, which are free or just very affordable. So there shouldn't be any objections on the software side. So how you would start? First, you need to know your core positioning, you versus competitor A, competitor B. You know exactly where you're better and what your core positioning and messaging is. You should identify maybe top 2, top 3 competitors, the ones that are appearing on sales calls most often. Yeah, there's always 80-20 rule. Even with competitors, your 20% of competitors are stealing away 80% of your deals. So bigger corporations, they probably have 15, 20 listed competitors. But if you want to get started, you have to fix those top 2. And the top 2 are going to solve 60% of your issues. And start there. It should lead to fast results, because sometimes sales departments are left to fend for themselves. Some organizations even say, oh, we're scrappy. I mean, they can improvise. But that's a cop-out answer. How I approached it is I talked to the sales manager and a couple of sales reps, just figure out what are the main objections, what keeps appearing on those calls. So I made a list of those objections. I looked at the CRM and I paired it together, and I soon found out there's a pattern. Okay, there's always issue on pricing. We also know they compared us to competitor A and competitor B. So I had priorities, what to build or what kind of strategy to create so I can go against it. Then you would do a product teardown, compare features, pricing, marketing tactics, or so on. You have to analyze their data, and you should compete this. We call it a compete playbook. Like when you hear about competitor A, you know exactly what kind of strategy to use on the calls. Then you have to distribute those assets, such as battle cards, to sales reps, teach them how to use it, and you keep on talking with sales. You measure if battle cards are being used, and you just do a gradual improvements from this standpoint on. If you give them good tools, good talk tracks, then those win rates are going to shut up, and that's a good way to start.
Thank you for sharing. You mentioned the competitive playbook. Do you want to tell us more about it?
Yeah, competitive playbooks are usually for VP of product marketing or senior product marketing managers, whoever we work with. And it doesn't only include battle cards, because battle cards are used for sales reps, but whoever we work with, they care about positioning updates, what has changed at the competitor side, product teardowns refreshes, use cases to use against the competitors. Huge resource of informations are conferences, because that's where new features are announced. So we store conference notes there, and the results for win and loss analysis. They're different from client to client and industry to industry, but it's just one knowledge library of assets. They can always go back and see how it's progressing. You would figure out where your competitor is heading to, and you have the time to make strategic decisions, and you're not dumbfounded or blindsided on what's going on in the market.
I see, I see. One of the things the product marketers could do is conducting the win-loss analysis interview. Are there any biases when it comes to win-loss analysis? How would you avoid biases?
The companies that do this really well, they usually do hire third-party vendors that do win-loss analysis for them, just because of this biases perspective. If the culture of your organization does allow for brutal honesty, that'll be great. But I would also recommend to either use a software or a third-party vendor, because let's just say if you ask your friend what he thinks or she thinks about your book, and they say, oh no, it's great, it's perfect, I think you should just publish it, but in reality they're just telling you what would you like to hear. So yeah, you just have to make sure that what feedback you're getting back is actually unbiased. So just I would advise professionals to do the win and loss analysis outside their organization.
Great, thank you for sharing. So, I've heard some product marketers in the past they have run into a situation where, while setting up the competitive intelligence program, the senior or more experienced sales team or salespeople they are a little bit more reluctant to contribute or share their knowledge. Do you have any tips that can encourage the sales to contribute more in the process?
Yeah, I think you're right, especially for senior sales people who have been at the job for 3, 4, 5 years. They know the product inside out, and they just most often feel like, hey, I know my job. I don't need any help on this. But usually in sales department, you also have a lot of junior people. And in sales, I think it's quite high turnover rate compared to other departments. Just from human perspective, we are reluctant to change. So best way to come in is just making sure that you communicate that you're there to help and make their job easier. You're there for support. That's why you do all these surveys and getting one-on-ones and do interviews, because you're asking them, hey, where do you see there's a gap? What's confusing? How would you like to receive information? What's missing? What would you like to have? Anything that can help you make a sale, I'm here for you. And the great part is, once you do trickle in the support assets, the sales starts closing. And once you have this initial momentum, the whole department gets on board, and that's the start of a beautiful compete culture.
Yeah, got it. So, in your opinion, how often should we review and improve competitive intelligence performance?
It does depend on volatility of the industry. Let's just say if you're in I think you should be looking at that even more regularly. For each of our clients, we do create internal newsletter cadence, which is on a weekly basis. So basically, we just check and gather data and tell them, hey, your competitor A did this last week, and this is why it's important. But if I would give you a good cadence, I would say if you do it twice a year, that's great, but even better, do it every quarter. Because in that time, you can take a look of your core positioning, your competitor core positioning, because sometimes this can change. And for the same reason, whatever assets you create, you have to date it. So you're always working with fresh intel. But I would say when you do the win-loss analysis, competitive intelligence program should be reviewed at the same time.
I see, that makes sense. So, are there any ways that we can measure the success or effectiveness of a competitive intelligence program?
Yeah, of course. It is a little bit complex to start with. When we do start working with clients, we measure sales confidence surveys and interviews. And one of our main metrics is also the consumption of assets that we create. There's also win and loss ratio by the end of the quarter, but with win and loss, there's a lot of other factors. It's the turnover on sales department, it's timing or seasonality of the industry and business. So NCI is just one of those factors. But always with whoever we worked, when the confidence increases, the conversion increases at the same time. And that's one of the metrics that we start with.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. From what you've seen in some of the companies, tell us the top 3 reasons for failed competitive intelligence program.
As we talked at the start, we mentioned that a lot of people are reluctant to change. So you have to approach CI with respect and with respect of your colleagues as well. One thing that you have to do is over-communicate. Communicate with stakeholders, communicate with your team, making sure that you're doing this because you're there to assist. Next thing would be too much too soon. So I'll confess, CI is super exciting because you have so many data from all those places and you can just create War and Peace essay and you can push it forward. But nobody is going to adopt that program because it just feels like a lot of work. So be respectful and make sure that you create collaterals like battle cards in very easy to consume format. The last thing I'd say is take the role of support. You just have to come from a perspective that you're there as a supporting function. So I like to use the analogy of outfitter for campers. Like you're there, here's the weatherproof material. You also need a tent, you'll need bug spray, you need bear spray or something like that. You shouldn't overburden them. You shouldn't give them 50, 60 things because they can't walk uphill, but they're the ones that are executing the quest. So you're just there to provide them with tools that they can reach the peak faster and with ease.
Yeah, love the analogy. So we're getting to the end of our time here. Do you have any final thought that you would like to share with our listeners on the topic?
I would just say to be like Nike and just do it. It's not that hard. Pick one big competitor, the one that has been a gripe in the sales department for months. Check their pricing, check their positioning, figure out what's the best way to speak about it or speak against it, or how would you raise doubt for a prospect if they would go with competitor. And just start it there. Work with 2, 3, befriend salespeople, work with 2 or 3 of them and just help them make a sale. And then you can expand your CI program this way. I'd also like to share a quiz for your listeners. We have a health check of your competitive program. So go on Grow and Scale / this is product marketing. It takes less than 2 minutes and you'll soon find out either what you could add in your competitive intelligence program, or if you haven't started yet, you'll have few steps how to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Louise. This was great.
Thank you for tuning into This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, a product marketing community that gives back. Check out our website, productmarketinghive.com, to join our community, meet fellow product marketers, and access free resources, including training, playbooks, templates, and events. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and give a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. See you next time.